Morning, everybody, and welcome to Morning Coffee with Flight, episode, I believe this is episode 3, and it is November 24th, 2023, and it is the morning right after Thanksgiving. So I was thinking like what topic to do this morning, and what's on my mind right now is the subject of Thanksgiving in general. And also since my mind is kind of like trying to work on my next episode of hosting, that I'm kind of seeing Thanksgiving in that context as well, right? So Thanksgiving in that context is kind of like a consideration of ritual and how that works. That it's such an interesting thing where you can take something that already exists like the family and you can kind of idealize it, and then for this one day, right, that you really come together in this totally like idealistic way, right? So everybody's doing their part, everybody's helping to like bring stuff, to make stuff. You're really functioning as a family, and having like a lot to do really kind of like helps in this ritual, right? Because families are complex, right? So a lot of the time, there's a lot of people in the family who feel one way, and then other people feel the other way, and it can cause a lot of tension between people, right? But the rituals of Thanksgiving helps kind of like shine a light on ideal behavior in family, right? So it's all very generous, it's all very giving, it's all kind of like thinking about other people, and that kind of like gives like an ideal, right? Because you can kind of get stuck in yourself a little bit too much, right? And in your own kind of like views and your own kind of like bents. But to engage in the ritual of the Thanksgiving dinner, kind of forced to at least participate in a different ethic besides just me, mine, and I want to be right. So I think that is actually interesting how that kind of stuff works. And I want to draw attention also to how this ritual disrupts kind of like more pathological behaviors that tend to come when people interact as well. And of course, you can't talk about Thanksgiving without mentioning all the good food. So I, for one, love the kind of food that is at Thanksgiving. So, the turkey is always pretty good, and the stuffing I love, and pumpkin pie I love, and all the other stuff that comes along with that too. Unfortunately, we didn't have yams, so I love yams, but nobody else does. And I wasn't in a good position to make them this year, so we just went without. But that's okay. Everything else we had, and it was delicious. The other thing I will say about Thanksgiving is before COVID happened, I was over on the East Coast, so I'm actually like a West Coast person. But before COVID happened, I was doing the tourist thing on the East Coast, and I went up to Plymouth Rock, and went around there, seeing all the like the pilgrim stuff, right? And of course, with Thanksgiving, it's all about the pilgrims and the Indians and that whole thing. And as that was laying out the story of like the actual pilgrims, I thought it was actually very comical because the pilgrims actually seem to be, um, how do I politely say this? They seem to be, well, I'll just say it, I guess, so incredibly incompetent that by the time they got to the point where they were starving, yeah, yeah, I mean, they basically made just bad decision after bad decision. It was not surprising that they were about to starve. So I actually thought that was very comical because I always grew up with it being kind of like a heroic kind of vision of the pilgrims. But really, when I got over there and actually started looking at the history, it turned out to be basically a story of incompetence, and then I guess the natives having pity on unfortunately incompetent pilgrims. But I guess the story we have makes a better story, anyways, right? So you never want to look too deep into those kind of things. But then again, you don't want to be like too judgmental, especially since I know nothing about the actual story, just like what I encountered when I went over there. So I'm sure there's people who actually know the real history and the full history, and they might get all offensive or all offended if I just call if I sum up the pilgrim experience as suffering from their own incompetence. So if you know better and you're offended, I apologize, but that is the impression I got when I went over there. So I think that should probably do it for this episode. So yeah, so happy Thanksgiving again if you're in the U.S. and if you're in Canada, I think it already passed. And if you're in a place where you don't have Thanksgiving, oh, I guess happy whatever holiday it is right now. So thanks for listening, and I will see you next time. Have a great day.